big problem.
Well, let me make one thing perfectly clear. Noah's Ark is only in existence because of the public's generosity for a start. Noah's Ark has no money. The only money that Noah's Ark has is by public donation. If people are willing to give their money, then we are accountable to them in every respect.
I've heard a lot about Noah's Ark. Just give us a background into Noah's Ark, just quickly, because I do want to play this.
Well, as concisely as possible. 7 years ago, it was the brainchild of someone that was living on Cambersol. A lady called Paula Christie. She started a movement called Tail Waggers. That was 7 years ago. Our main focus is on sick, injured and abused animals.
Right.
Whilst we will rescue abandoned animals if we do have room, animals that are run over, hung, shot, poisoned, all these sorts of things, which unfortunately does happen. This was probably something that made people get involved with Noah's Ark in the first place. It's their love of dogs, of course. And dogs can have a profound effect on people for a multitude of different reasons. Going back 40 years, this was a poem that my father used to do at parties and recitals at any possible occasion he could do. And it was so emotive for me that I decided that at 15 years old I'd learn it for myself. And it's stayed with me ever since. And to be honest with you, it's one of those poems that it's about fate and destiny, how a little thing can change people's lives.
Right.
It might be just a little thing like a dog, but dogs do have that effect on people. And this poem really is just about that.
And you've set it to music?
I've set it to music purely because originally, of course, when my father used to recite it, it was a very emotional poem even then, but he had a style of delivery that was so good. I felt the only way I could get that message across was to put a little bit of music in the background just to set it to music.
I can remember similar things with my grandfather. Ladies and gentlemen, on a world exclusive on COSTA, CALIDA International Radio, Mr. Andy Hurrell. Hey! Have Noah's Ark heard? Any of the members of Noah's Ark heard this?
This is going to be a surprise to a lot of people because I've literally, after I spoke to you on Friday and said I'd come in, just thought it'd be a nice idea just to start the chat that we're going to have with this little CD.
Pin your ears back, guys and girls, and listen to this.
Have you ever been broke? I mean, so broke that you've cried? With just what you stand up in and nothing besides. Living on scraps for the best part of a week. And that's when you can get them. And there's nowhere to sleep. I've been like that on a cold winter's night, when the streets were deserted, with no one in sight, except the slow-moving Bobby whose job is to see the public's protected from people like me who get put inside to answer in court, just while you're wandering around without means of support. You know, it always strikes me as a strange kind of joke, just to pick on a man, just 'cause he's broke. I remember the time, oh, so long while ago, I stood on a bridge with the river below. The last food I'd had, that was 3 days before, but I didn't think I'd need any more. The night, that was the worst I'd ever known. There was a filthy wet fog, it chilled to the bone. You know, life isn't worth much when you get to the state of waiting to die with nowhere to wait. I set my teeth hard and put down my heel on a rail that my hands were too perished to feel. When, all of a sudden, out of the fog, came a snivelling pup. He was just a scrap of a dog. Bedraggled and dirty, just like me, a wreck. but with oh, such a sad face on his poor scraggy neck. You know, a few moments more and I would have died. But that dog just licked my hand, and I sat down and then cried. I gathered the poor little mite in my coat and carried him off with a lump in my throat. I took him along to the one place I knew where they'd give him a bed and a biscuit or two. The sergeant in charge, he gave a bit of a grin when I said the dog could do with a meal. He said, "I'll fix him up, but how do you feel?" He could see I wasn't too clean. The hunger and cold that I'd suffered all day exhausted my limits, so I just fainted away. They slept me and they fed me and they gave me a few bob. And you know, that following day, they found me a job. And now I've worked ever since. I've even put a bit by. And I'm comfortable now, and I don't want to die. I have a nice little place in a quiet little street, with a little old garden that always looks neat. I work there a lot when I have time to spare, and I'm very proud of a corner that's there, with the pick of my flowers round a little old stone that bears an inscription all on its own. All the letters are crooked because I couldn't quite see at the time that I carved it quite recently. Oh, it's not very grand, but I know you'll understand. Here are the words that I carved on that stone. Here lies my friend. When I was alone, helpless and friendless, just a guy lost in a fog. God saved my life with the help of a dog.
I've never heard anything like that before in my life. I thought that was absolutely wonderful.
Well, it's one way of cheering us all up on a Monday morning, isn't it?
I'm quite an emotive person, and just sometimes I have shivers running down my back. Is that a proper poem, or is that something that
I'll tell you
just
what,
been handed down through the family? You said your dad used to.
Do you know? I'll tell you, my father never actually told me where it came from. If anyone out there has recognised that poem from anywhere, then please phone in and tell us, because I'd love to know where it came from originally.
Any idea what it's called?
This feeling that it may be called something like destiny. I think we used to call it that word, destiny, but it's just a feel-good thing for me, because it's about the way I feel about dogs. It's the communication they give you, the love they give you.
But I do think that people should be very, very careful into what type of a dog that they choose.
Absolutely, completely. It's no good a 80-year-old lady having a Great Dane, for instance. You know, the dog isn't judgmental. It doesn't care what you've done or what you are or the person you are. No. You know, it gives you unconditional love. And, yeah, you're right. As long as you get the right dog for you, it's perfect. Yeah. You know, he can be your best friend. He can be your partner. He can be your defender. You know, you're his life. You're his love. You're his leader. And he'll be yours to the very end. And
what we're saying here is, if you do love dogs and you've got some time.
Well, that was the other reason why I wanted to chat to you today, because at committee level, we have decisions that we have to make on usually a twice monthly basis.
Right.
That help to move the charity forwards. You know, we're obviously looking at all sorts of different possibilities for the future, and if they would feel that they would like to get involved in the committees and make some decisions that would help to move the charity in the right direction, then great, you know, get in contact again, and then we can help you to come onto the committee, and you can help to make those decisions that will improve these dogs' lives.
We're talking about committees, and this is something that a couple of years ago, has that been sorted out?
Well, thank God we live in a democracy, Steve, because you know, as long as people have, and I hate using the word all the time, but if they're passionate about something and they care enough about something, they're going to have very strong opinions. And whenever you get people involved, with Noah's Ark that are very much of that ilk, then you will get some disagreement, and it's inevitable. And that's why it's important that you voice your opinion from inside, so you can help to make things improved for the better, get things changed. You will get disagreements. It can sometimes lead to an impasse where people are so frustrated that they can't get their policies through the committee. They often leave the committee. But no decisions within Noah's Ark are ever taken that, in our opinion, are in the dog's best interest.
But a couple of years ago, I mean, it was getting into airing your dirty laundry in public. Once it starts getting outside of the committee room, then you have a big problem.
Let me make one thing perfectly clear. Noah's Ark is only in existence because of the public's generosity for a start. Noah's Ark has no money. The only money that Noah's Ark has is by public donation. If people are willing to give their money, then we are accountable to them in every respect, and we have to make sure that they understand that we're doing the best we can to spend their money as wisely as possible. So these are important things that are discussed at committee level, and that's why people are so passionate about it, and that's why we can have these, sometimes these situations where we have breakout, if you like, where
I completely understand it.
No, that's right. But then you're never going to stop people chattering about what goes on at committee level. I mean, you can ask them to be discreet, but you're never going to stop it. And why should you? It's not like we're not in a police state.
No.
If people want to talk about it,
no, that's right. Yeah.
And I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate what you're saying, and I agree. No, people don't want to hear.
But at the end of the day, I mean, it hurts the charity.
Well, one of the reasons I'm here today is to try and clarify any points that may have been either misunderstood in the past, or any questions that you or anyone else may have about Noah's Ark, so we can, if you like, clear the air, so you know what the official line is.
Yeah. You're on Stevie T's Morning Show with Andy Hurrell from Noah's Ark.
Your local station.
We've all seen the injuries that these animals get and that are brought on and that people inflict. Yeah. And let's face it, I mean, a lot of them are inflicted by people.
A graphic account of how we deal with these situations on a day-to-day basis. True BBC tradition. Some viewers may find some of the scenes upsetting.
Yes, yeah. So this trauma, if you're of a squeamish nature, it may be best to leave the trauma video alone.
Well, it's all over in 2.5 minutes, and there's just a few shots there that are the kind of things that we are witnessing on a day-to-day basis. You talked a little bit about it earlier on, Steve, and I want to come back to it if I may.
Yeah.
The UK has its fair share of animal abusers. There's no doubt about that. But, even the most ardent animal-loving Spaniard would probably agree that some of his fellow countrymen are some of the worst abusers of animals in Europe.
Yeah.
And to that end, the hunters in particular, and the more agricultural side, they seem to be the worst. And some of the things that go on, the choice of abuse with some animals is to hang them from trees. If they just hung them in an ordinary way, that wouldn't be quite so bad as the way they choose to do it, which is to actually allow the dog to have its back legs on the ground, suspended from the tree, and when the dog gets so exhausted from standing up to stop itself from being asphyxiated, as it starts to exhaust itself, it will gradually become more and more asphyxiated and then eventually die. That's the kind of thing that we're having to deal with, and there is 1 or 2 images there that you will find on that video, that kind of thing. They get poisoned, they get thrown down wells, they lose all their claws while they're trying to scramble up the side of the well. It's very, very unpleasant indeed sometimes, but someone has to do it, and at the moment there isn't anyone in this area, as far as I know, that's doing the kind of work that we're doing, and it's a very expensive operation because when we have to rescue these animals, clearly they need rehabilitating, they need a lot of veterinary care. Our vets bills are extremely high, I can tell you, they're massive, and it's because of the amount of vets bills that we have that we need the initiatives that we have for fundraising. And sometimes you're actually trying to take dogs back from their owners, and the owners are particularly abusive, and what right do we have to do that?
They may breed off them, and then just throw them to one side. I don't like to use the word dumped, but it's dead true.
It is, yeah.
They were literally put in cardboard boxes and dumped on campus or outside the commercial centre on Sector A.
That's exactly right, yeah.
And that's exact. And the following morning, when somebody came in to open up, it's like, all right, fine. There's a box full of 6 puppies.
Yeah.
What do we do with them?
Which is exactly why Paula 8 years ago got involved.
Yeah.
That's right. And this is why it is now what we have today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Puppies, they get left in boxes, often in bins, and people find them by
That's
chance.
right. Yeah.
And usually 2 or 3 of them are dead, and then they'll take them down to JJ Puppies. So with the 3 of us together, we have our own little niches that we're involved in, trying to help solve what is a very, very difficult problem. And certainly over the years, we think we've made a dent in this problem, but it's obviously ongoing, and we do need more help through volunteers.
So volunteer help.
Well, let's not get carried away.
No. Stop it. Yes. No soapbox this morning. No soapbox. No soapbox. So, but you can see how emotive I get.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, just at the moment, just with talking to you, it brings my blood to the boil. Right, moving on quickly. Yes, we must do, because it's 11:30. We must move on quickly. I've got to do what's on where yet. Anything else?
NoahsArkMercia.com.
Right, and Andy's telephone number is 630.
Thanks very much for allowing me to come in.
Not a problem at all.
Discuss these things with you.
Keep me informed.
I will do.
He's more than willing to assist and help in any way we can.
You're a damn fine chap.
Flattery will get you everywhere. Right, 34 minutes past 11. I will just see young Andy out with a couple of records and a couple of adverts, and we'll be back with what's on where right after these.